I didn't.
Welcome, everyone. We're going to go ahead and begin our meeting this evening. We'll come back to order with a roll call from our city clerk, Kathy Valdez.
The record shall reflect that all members are present.
And our city attorney, Walter Chung, will bring us out of our closed session meeting.
The City Council took no reportable action in closed session today.
Councilmember Dan O'Donnell will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance tonight.
All rise. If you're wearing a hat, please remove it and place your hand over, or your right hand over your heart. Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, and now our city clerk will read some procedural items.
Thank you. In accordance with the Brown Act, I'd like to announce that as a result of convening simultaneous meetings, the members of the Buena Sanitation District will receive compensation of $147.75 for the district meeting pursuant to Buena Sanitation District Ordinance 2006-1. I would like to remind everyone that the Vista Municipal Code requires members of the public to observe order and decorum at the meeting and to conduct themselves in a courteous manner. The ordinance was adopted to allow for public input and to facilitate city business without disruption of the meeting. Applause is appropriate for items listed under the presentation section of the agenda only. Students wishing to receive credit for attending this evening's meeting must stay for a minimum of 1 hour. However, we ask that you stay for the completion of an item rather than leaving in the middle of a discussion. When you're ready to leave, you may ask one of the staff members at the back of the room to sign your paper. Thank you.
To speak on an item on our agenda this evening, please fill out a speaker slip with the number of the item that you'd like to speak on and give it to our clerk secretary staff here on the dais. Speaker slips are available on the table just outside the council chambers. For the members of the public that are participating via Zoom, you may raise your hand to indicate that you'd like to speak or press star 9 on your phone. We will announce when to raise your hand to indicate that you would like to make a comment on the specific item being discussed. Speakers will have 3 minutes to address the City Council. I will go to our City Manager, John Conley, for approval of tonight's agenda.
Thank you, Mayor. There are no changes to this evening's agenda.
And we have 4 presentations this evening, so I'd like to invite my council members to join me at the lectern. Okay. It's our honor tonight to recognize the 75th anniversary of Dr. Bronner's, a great member of our community. Yes, let's give him a hand. And we want to recognize Dr. Bronner's with the following proclamation. We're going to invite Trudy Bronner and the Bronner family and all the Bronner associates to come on up and Okay, so just really quickly, we want to read this. Whereas 2023 marks the 75th anniversary of Dr. Bronner's top-selling natural brand of soaps and body care products in North America, And Dr. Bronner's is a family-owned, family-run business in California based right here in Vista for the last 15 years, manufacturing soaps, body care, and other products of the highest environmental and social qualities. And Dr. Bronner's employs over 300 people in San Diego County and beyond, and has been named one of the best places to work in San Diego County for 5 years in a row. Whereas Dr. Bronner's is committed to demonstrating that business can be a force for good in the community and the world, capping executive salaries at 5 times the wages of the lowest paid fully vested employees, and donating all profits not needed for reinvestment into the business to charitable and activist causes through their support of and many causes, including community betterment in the San Diego region, such as our own Vista Moonlight Amphitheater, as well as animal advocacy, drug policy, criminal justice reform, fair trade, fair pay, regenerative organic agriculture, and our environment and civil and human rights. Whereas Dr. Bronner's is a leader in progressive and ethical business practices, innovative products that advance regenerative organic agriculture, fair trade, climate justice, and help build a more just economy overall. Now, therefore, the mayor and the members of the Vista City Council congratulate Dr. Bronner's on their 75th anniversary and do hereby proclaim Wednesday, October 11th as Dr. Bronner's 75th anniversary day in the city of Vista. Will you take a quick photo with us right here? Oh, okay. And then we understand that it's Lisa, right? That's authored a book?
Yeah, Soap and Soul.
She's unveiling her new book tonight at Dawson's Beach, so the family's going to run up and be with Lisa.
I'll go on the other side.
Our second proclamation is one declaring October 23rd through the 31st as Red Ribbon Week in the city of Vista. And I'd like to invite our fire chief, Gerard Washington, up, who's going to accept this proclamation on behalf of our Vista Elks Lodge number 1968. Would you hold this for us? Whereas alcohol and drug abuse affects individuals, families, and communities across the nation, and it is imperative that visible, unified efforts by community members be launched to prevent drug abuse, Red Ribbon Week offers citizens of Vista the opportunity to demonstrate their commitment to a drug-free lifestyle. Red Ribbon Week is celebrated in communities across the nation from October 23rd to the 31st. Businesses, governments, law enforcement, media, healthcare providers, religious institutions, schools, and other community-based organizations will demonstrate their commitment to healthy, drug-free lifestyles by wearing red ribbons and participating in drug prevention activities. Whereas there is hope in winning the war against drugs through prevention, education in classrooms, and determination of organizations such as the Vista Elks Lodge number 1968, who are part of the largest volunteer drug awareness program in the United States, whereas the week of October 23 through 31 has been designated as the National Red Ribbon Week, which encourages Americans to participate in drug prevention education activities, not only during the Red Ribbon Week, but also throughout the year, making a visible statement that we are strongly committed to a drug-free lifestyle. Now, therefore, I and the members of the Vista City Council do hereby proclaim October 23 through 31, 2023 as Red Ribbon Week in the city of Vista. Yeah, let's get a picture. Our third proclamation is one acknowledging the hard work of our code enforcement team. And I do want to say on behalf of the entire city council that this is a team of individuals that is not often the one that you want to see. And sometimes you're not happy if you're the one receiving the complaint. But I will tell you that we receive a lot of feedback from our citizens about the great work that our code enforcement department does, keeping our city safe and clean. And so we really appreciate their hard work, and we want them to know that they're a very valuable part. So let's invite our code enforcement team to come on down. We'll have you hold this for us if you don't mind. So whereas code enforcement officers provide for the safety, health, and welfare of residents through the enforcement of local and state laws and ordinances dealing with various issues in the building, zoning, housing, environmental safety, and quality of life, and whereas code enforcement officers are dedicated, highly qualified, and trained professionals who diligently build cooperative partnerships with Vista residents and businesses to help improve the quality of life and maintain community standards in an equitable and impartial manner, whereas Vista code enforcement officers regularly coordinate with the San Diego County Sheriff's Department and other city departments and external agencies to effectively disseminate information and pursue complex cases that require diligence, patience, understanding, and education. And code enforcement officers have a visible role in the city of Vista and regularly interact with the public in their capacity as officers and community liaisons. Whereas I and the members of the Vista City Council recognize our code enforcement officers who faithfully serve our community and acknowledge their critical role helping to improve the quality of life within our community. Now, therefore, I and the members of the Vista City Council do hereby proclaim the second week of October 2023 as Code Enforcement Officer Appreciation Week in the city of Vista and encourage Vista residents to join in expressing their appreciation for the dedication and continued service of our code enforcement officers in making our city beautiful, safe, and clean. Thank you. Okay, last but certainly not least, we're very proud to have our Knights of Columbus Tootsie Roll Drive Days in the City of Vista proclamation, and we're proud to welcome, and we want to invite the staff and participants to come forward from the Knights of Columbus. We have Laura Hallett, Andrew Norris, Allison Hobbs, Grace Kirsch, Emma Bailey, Jackie Vreeland, and Roger Rowe with us tonight. Okay. Whereas the Knights of Columbus will hold their 36th annual Tootsie Roll Drive Days on October 20th, 21st, 22nd, and 23rd, and whereas over 600 councils of the Knights of Columbus in California will conduct their annual candy drive in communities across the state to raise funds for the intellectually disabled children and adults in California, and whereas all money collected locally will be donated to Downstown, a nonprofit organization with residential homes in North County for adults with developmental disabilities such as Down syndrome. And whereas intellectually disabled citizens are productive, contributing members of society, and funds raised through this candy drive will assist Downstown in supporting the continued independence of these citizens. And whereas the Vista City Council offers its sincere appreciation and support of all involved with this candy drive and commends them for their efforts to help others. Now, therefore, I and the members of the Vista City Council do hereby proclaim October 20th, 21st, and 22nd, 2023, the Knights of Columbus Tootsie Roll Drive Days in Vista. And we urge all citizens to support this important fundraising activity to help the intellectually disabled children and adults in Vista and all throughout California. And with that, after we take a picture, we're going to invite you, if you've got $1 or $2 or $5 or $10 and you'd like to buy a Tootsie Roll, we want to invite you to do that at this time if you would like to do so. So would you come forward?
Let's do it.
All right, let's give a big thank you, District Columbus. All right. You know, I'm getting mine right now. I literally hit myself in the face because I remember I bring it over all aggressive and I was like, this is cool. I can lean back in my chair now when I talk. Good stuff there. Only those ones?
Okay. That'll bring us to our oral communications. Any member of the public may address the City Council on agency-related matters that are not on the agenda by requesting to speak during this section of the agenda. If you're participating via Zoom, please use the raise your hand feature or press *9 now if you'd like to speak. The number of speakers that will be heard during this segment is limited to 10, and any remaining speakers will be heard under the second oral communications item. We do have several oral communication speakers tonight. If you would, please come forward, take a seat in the front row when you hear your name called, and be ready to speak when it's your turn. We'll begin tonight with Joe Hood, followed by Julia Shriver. Please, both of you, come on down.
You beat Tootsie Rolls. Really. Kenneth Mieja, controller for the city of Los Angeles, says that LA's widely lauded CAP, Climate Action Plan, needs a major reboot. Statements from Kenneth. The CAP lacks transparency, specifics, and offers little in the way of meaningful metrics. It has few measurable outcomes related to climate change or environmental sustainability. There are no measurable outcomes for the public to see what's working and what's not. And it is not ambitious enough. What's needed, he says, example goals, meticulous real-time tracking will be needed to reach goals. Quantified goals to measure success of environmental justice issues, such as tracking emergency room visits for childhood asthma, transit-oriented development such as 15-minute neighborhoods, convert all buildings to net zero carbon by 2050, align the most urgent priorities with the IRA funds, and create heat plans, set energy efficiency measures in multifamily units. All make great sense. Vista should follow Mr. Mieja's advice. Establish specific measurable goals, set up a dashboard to measure and report progress. Consider adding an independent review by someone such as the city controller. That's what controllers do, right? It's a good thing. Be bold and ambitious. Time is short. Climate change is code red for humanity. We can do this. Thanks.
Next is Julia Shriver, followed by Terry Ann Skelly on Zoom.
Good evening, mayors, council, staff, and public. I live at 1425 Vale Terrace Drive. I've been here many times on the same issue, speeding and running the three-way stop. On one of your agendas, C8, you have speed humps for Foothill and Independence. I love that. I love the speed bumps that you've put on Eucalyptus, but why not Vale Terrace Drive and Place? Just coming over here, a black 300 Chrysler ran the three-way stop and was barreling down Vale Terrace. This morning, a Rally silver car was doing donuts in front of the senior center and then went up to the three-way stop and did donuts down there and took off down the road. October 7th, Saturday, someone went in speeding at 2:30 in the morning, went into my neighbor's house on the corner and almost went through her front door. October 1st, a car going down Vale Terrace, passing the rec center, missed the turn and went over the embankment into the creek. September 24th, 10 o'clock in the morning, right after church, a black Mustang lost control, spun out in front of my house, tore off this whole back bumper. I'm asking you guys, you're putting these speed bumps in, I love it, but why not? Why hasn't anybody responded to my issue on Vale Terrace Drive? Joe Green, you're my rep. I love you, but I need something done. This morning, I heard this person doing donuts in the shower, and a jogger, my brother said the jogger almost got hit. I don't want anybody to get hurt, but it's inevitable. It's not if, it's when. Which leads me to C9. You have speed bumps on Lada de Loma and Guajome. I went to the planning committee meeting on this development there. 183 units. That's 366 cars. There's no infrastructure for this project. It's a nice project, but not for this area. I'm asking you to not change the zoning. It's for homes. It will be a traffic jam. Please deny it. Thank you.
Now we'll go to Zoom. Terry Ann Skelly will be followed by Becky Rapp. Terry Ann, are you there? Terry Ann? Okay, we'll come back to Terry Ann Skelly. We'll go to Becky Rapp now. Becky, are you there?
Yes, thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Becky Rapp, and I come here tonight as I'm very concerned with the messaging that's being sent by the marijuana industry to our children and youth. And the message is that marijuana is safe to use. We have 11 retail shops and billboards lining our streets and freeways. With October National Substance Use Prevention Month, it's crucial the city recognize and share the message that products containing THC are detrimental to the developing brain. Recently, our own San Diego County Medical Examiner stated that 39% of completed suicides under the age of 25 tested positive for THC. Why are these warnings not included on our own city website? And why are they not posted on billboards? Why are schools not required to share this information with students, especially during the month of October as they talk about drug prevention? Perhaps this information could be included in newsletters and information that is emailed to constituents. Dr. Kevin Sabet, former White House drug policy advisor to President Obama, Bush, and Clinton, stated, the DEA and the FDA have held longstanding opinions that marijuana is a dangerous psychoactive drug. If anything, the science has become more damning against marijuana in recent years. Major medical associations and surgeon generals agree marijuana is addictive and harmful. Study after study of users of today's high-potency THC drugs demonstrate damaging mental health impacts, including psychosis, schizophrenia, depression, and IQ loss. Please consider the role the city is playing, enabling marijuana businesses without the crucial counter messaging explaining these devastating mental health impacts. Thank you.
Judy Strang, followed by Chris Reese. Judy, are you there?
Yeah, hello.
We can hear you.
Good evening. Yay. Hello, Vista City Council, Mayor Franklin. Thank you for letting me share some thoughts. I'm associated with parent groups who track legislation, and there's some legislation I came tonight to share with you that have been of particular concern and have been sitting on the governor's desk, and we've just recently been receiving the information. One of the ones I'm sharing tonight is Assembly Bill 374. We were gravely concerned because this bill would have allowed in marijuana consumption lounges food and drink and live entertainment. The governor did not sign this bill, and he returned it saying that he was concerned that such a bill would undermine California's long-standing smoke-free workplace protections. He went on to say that protecting the health and safety of workers is paramount. American Heart, American Lung, and American Cancer also agreed that this bill needed to be opposed and appreciate the governor not signing it. And they put out a press release concerning why they felt that smoking and vaping and then the consumption of food and live entertainment would be a problem in a consumption lounge. They pointed out that the effects of marijuana use can impair attention, judgment, and short-term memory, slow coordination, and worsened balance. And this would be very difficult when the driver left a consumption lounge and got on the road to drive. They also mention, and this is a particular concern from American Heart, that marijuana use increases heart rate. And sometimes we find the mental health outcome with this raised heart rate of anxiety and paranoia. American Lung mentioned that it can irritate the marijuana use of consumption of could irritate the throat and lungs, and sometimes disrupt sleeping patterns. The world of the parent concerns was concerned about the long-term use that might be associated with impairment in learning and memory, with the potential loss of IQ. So we applaud the governor today for not signing AB 374 and for understanding that marijuana today is substantially more potent than it was 2 decades ago and produces a more intense and longer high and has pronounced physical and mental side effects. Thank you for letting me share the outcome of this legislation and the governor's wise move not to sign it. Thank you.
Chris Reese, followed by Peggy Walker. Chris, are you there? Chris Reese? Chris Reese,
Yes, I'm unmuted now. Hi.
please go ahead.
Yes, good evening, council members and mayor and esteemed city employees. Thank you for the opportunity to comment publicly. There's been a lot of discussion in recent meetings about the city's climate action plan. And I know we're looking at reevaluating the current plan and considering what the new state will be. And I heartily support, I ask you to support having measurable outcomes with some definable impacts and financial penalties possibly associated with not complying with a single-use plastic law. I think it's very important that we, as the city, start by setting a good example by invoking this on city grounds at city events, and also included at the Bringle Terrace facility, the Moonlight Amphitheater. There is another issue I'd like you to consider as we're looking at the climate action plan. The U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development has HUD-assisted projects that can help businesses and cities and developers look at how to create a project that is really well constructed with the environment in mind. There's a highlighted project that's 132 unit permanent supportive housing property for seniors in Austin, Texas on the HUD website. And I think that's just one very interesting example of how we can look to see how others have been successful and learn from their experience and bring that learning and that technology right here to Vista so we can support having a clean environment and integrate it into many areas of our life. Again, that's why I started out by asking you to strongly consider enforcing the single plastic use ban, starting with the city events, starting with our large entertainment venue, and then bringing that out to our retail facilities, including the restaurants and bars, and also incorporating it as we look into building the many different projects that are currently listed on our City of Vista planning projects. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak.
Peggy Walker, followed by the caller whose phone number ends in 7234. Peggy Walker, are you there?
Yes, good evening and thank you. I work as a public health educator with an alliance whose mission for 25 years has been to keep teens tobacco, alcohol, and drug free. I appreciate your Red Ribbon Week recognition. Thank you. We are well versed in the tobacco industry's shameless record of telling lies about tobacco's health impact, copied by the marijuana industry, leading hundreds of thousands into addiction, and both industries have records of duplicitous marketing strategies. The latest is the production of new e-cigarettes and vape pens that look like school supplies and toys to entice young users. These look like real markers and crayons, for example, or toy cameras and game controllers, and obviously are targeted to youth. The strategy has also ripped off cartoon characters like SpongeBob and Mario, cute animal images, and uses unauthorized Starbucks and Dunkin' Donuts likenesses on these products. There's no reason for e-cigs or vape pens with tobacco or those used for marijuana concentrates to look like toys and school supplies or to mimic popular food product brands. I came tonight as part of Substance Abuse Prevention Month to urge you to consider adding a tobacco retail licensing ban that prohibits e-cigarettes and vape pens disguised as school supplies and toys that make smoking and vaping look like fun. Thanks so much for your time.
Now we'll go to the caller whose phone number ends in 7234, followed by Terry Ann Skelly. We have the caller with the phone number ending in 7234.
Good evening, Vista City Council, Mayor Franklin. My name is Terry Ann Skelly. I'm a mother of 3 adult sons, a community volunteer with youth programs, and I also work in public health education. Parents like me feel almost defenseless against the pot advertising and promotions that are a part of Vista's marijuana marketplace, especially when the research continues to come in linking these high-potency THC marijuana products to devastating effects on our youth, adults' mental health. Several national parent groups are collecting and sharing their stories regarding the loss of their children. Young and vibrant lives ended by suicide after their descent into addiction through high-potency marijuana vapes and edibles. Parents are concerned that the opioid misuse epidemic occurred because the parent voice was disregarded, and it's happening again. Today, October 10th, is designated as World Mental Health Day by the World Federation for Mental Health. While rates of depression and anxiety have increased across age groups, children and youth are experiencing some of the greatest challenges. The California Department of Public Health noted last month that suicide is the second leading cause of death among adolescents and young adults aged 15 to 24. We feel that the risks of today's high-potency THC marijuana products and its effects on young adults' mental health are being overlooked. Hopefully, our City Council can be counted among those trusted adults and healthcare professionals who are concerned about the harmful effects of marijuana on our children, our teenagers, and our emerging adults. Thank you for hearing my concern this evening.
And did we have the telephone caller with the number ending in 7234? Oh, that was Ms. Skelly. Very good. Okay, that will bring us to our consent calendar this evening. The recommendations on the following consent calendar will be enacted in one motion unless an item is removed from the calendar. Any member of the public may remove an item by submitting a request to speak card to the clerk secretary by using the raise your hand feature on Zoom or by pressing *9. Items removed from the consent calendar will be considered immediately following the adoption of the calendar. We have 11 consent items this evening. Items C8, C9, C10, C11 have been pulled by the public, and let's go to council to see if there are any other items that council would like to pull. Deputy Mayor Contreras?
No items to pull, thank you. I just want to move the balance of the calendar.
Councilmember Melendez.
Could we also pull C5, please?
Okay, and did you want to second the motion?
Yes, for the balance.
Okay, so without items C5, C8, C9, C10, C11, please cast your votes. That motion is approved unanimously, and that'll bring us to item C5. Councilmember Melendez.
Thank you. So this item is for us to adopt the Parks and Recreation Needs Assessment and Comprehensive Action Plan for a site-specific plan. Recently, we did approve a Park Master Plan contract, and that is in process. But there are some specific sites that we would be adding with this consent calendar item. And I see we have someone from Parks and Recreation with us. So if you could provide a little bit of information about the two sites that we would be adding as a specific plan.
Thank you for the question, Councilmember Melendez. Good evening, City Council. We actually have our consultant, CEO Neely Bott of Next Practice Partners also on Zoom, so he can also answer some questions. But I'll just answer the two questions you just asked. So the two site-specific plans that we're looking to actually incorporate into our current contract to do a park master plan is the new park at Madrigal Drive and also Bringle Terrace Park.
Awesome, thank you. And with these actions, I'm understanding that we're using the same contractor because it'll allow them to do some work that's more efficient, kind of co-occurring with the other activities that they're going to be doing with our parks master plan. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct. That'll just save not only time, but also survey fatigue. Just, doing all these park master plans back to back, I think we would have a different outcome with having, just the residents would not fill out so many surveys back to back. So it's better not only from economy of scale, but also just from a survey fatigue.
Oh, okay. So I definitely was thinking about the economies of scale, but it's good to know that survey fatigue, is that something that would affect our residents in terms of their engagement in the process? Is that what you're meaning by survey fatigue?
Yes, thank you for clarifying. That's correct.
Okay, so I would like to ask my council to support me in adding one more park location for this amended contract to have a site-specific plan, and that would be the property that is near the courthouse off of Breeze Hill. We talked about this property on August 3rd when we were discussing public parcels, and it was clear that the council and the public wanted to see this parcel used for a park, whether it be a portion of the parcel or the entire parcel. So I would like to move that we approve C5 with the inclusion of the Breeze Hill Courthouse property so that it can be included in a site-specific plan. And now that I'm learning more about the survey fatigue, it makes sense that since there are going to be kind of multiple developments in that area between the Madrigal property and the Breeze Hill area, it might be good to add them all together along with the economy of scale for our contractor. So that's what I would like to do, and I think that it would be efficient and helpful for continuing to move the planning process forward. Of course, I imagine we will be seeing all of these plans as they're developed and be able to be, in the planning process. Is that right?
Oh, absolutely. That's correct. You guys are absolutely part of this community engagement process. We'll have opportunities for council to also be part of talking to our consultants, and you guys are absolutely a stakeholder group. So you'll definitely know when things start going.
Okay. Well, that's all for me. Thank you.
Okay.
Deputy Mayor Contreras.
Thank you, Councilmember Melendez, for pulling this. I support you in adding Breeze Hill, but I also wanted to see if the council would be supportive of adding the retention basin right off of the Conservancy Trail as part of this study. I think it's a good opportunity for us to look at what can be done as far as a recreational opportunity in that location. So I don't know what the rest of the council has to say, or if you're open to a friendly amendment to add that.
So real quick point of clarification, we would have to get a scope of work from this consultant and bring it back to council for approval. So if we want to move forward on C5, we would come back at a future meeting with the amendment to add any additional park sites.
Okay, so what you're saying is that we would move forward with what is in the agenda at this moment and give staff direction to add?
Yes.
Okay.
I just have a quick question about the engineering suitability. I just want to make sure that we're not going to pay for an extensive workup if the engineering, we're going to do the basic look at the engineering work first to make sure that this land is, in both cases, is suitable for development for this purpose. As long as everybody's agreed to that, we're not going to obligate ourselves if the land isn't conducive.
So my understanding is that would be part of the analysis of the park sites.
Okay. Councilmember O'Donnell?
City manager actually kind of answered my question. I'd be very supportive of adding both of these so long as it didn't delay the vote on the current agendized items and we can bring it back at a later time. So I don't know if a motion's been made or if one needs to be made. Was there, or does there need to be one, or is it just something directing staff to bring it back?
So is the motion to approve this item and to instruct staff to bring these two
If a
items back?
motion has not been made, I would like to make the motion to approve the items that are agendized and then have staff, direct staff to bring the other two locations back at a later date.
Is that acceptable to everybody?
Yes, as long as I have support to include the site at Breeze Hill, because what we're currently status to do with our Parks Master Plan is more so to look at a needs assessment. That would even open up the question of if we want a park there or not. And based on public discussions recently, I think it's clear that we do want a park at that location. So I would just want to make sure that if it is brought forward at another time, would that be a consent calendar item?
Yes, it would.
Okay, and we will be having an engineering study to ensure that the site is feasible for a park?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. I'm totally supportive of that. Thank you.
Councilmember Green.
Two things. So number one, for parliamentary procedure clarification, was Dan O'Donnell's motion a substitute motion to the initial motion that he made to include all these? Or, because I have a motion and I have a second, then I have an accepted amendment, then I have another motion.
Yeah, I think the motion on the floor is perfectly fine on the second.
So it's Katie's, Councilmember Melendez's motion, right?
Correct. And
Okay,
so
good.
Councilmember O'Donnell just provided some clarification.
Good job. Appreciate that. Only question that I have is this: when this comes back, I assume there's going to be an additional cost that will be incurred with this. So when you bring it back, will you make sure to let council know the additional cost that is incurred on this? And I think kind of probably what the council was trying to do was save a little bit of money by adding these two locations to this particular study. So I would hope that the consultant, if you're listening, doesn't try to add me full price for these other two properties, because it's pretty much within the same scope of work. And I would agree that those four properties, Madrigal, the Breeze Hill, Bringle Terrace, and that retention basin that you spoke about, are the top four. Yeah, so anyways, just wanted to clarify on that. Ready for a vote, motioned and seconded.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Please cast your votes. That item is approved unanimously, and that'll bring us to item C8. And we have some members of the public, one member of the public that wanted to speak on item C8, and that is Steve Klicka. Hope I pronounced your name correctly. Please come forward. You've got 3 minutes to address the council at this time. We'll ask Sid Rothenberg to come forward and be ready to speak next.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and City Council, for opening this microphone this evening. And I've lived on Beverly Drive, which comes into Elm Drive, for 45 years. And I walk that neighborhood 2 or 3 times a week. And there is a home up on Elm Drive for handicapped young men, and they walk that street twice a day to go to work. And there is no accommodation for pedestrians, and they're in danger. And the cars are going 35 miles an hour. You cannot hear an electric car coming from behind you, so it's very dangerous. And I'm just here to ask for those speed bumps to be installed. I think it would save a life. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilmember Joe Green.
Thank you so much, and thank you so much, Mr. Klicka, for coming down tonight. I actually walk my dogs past your house fairly regularly, as you're aware, and you're absolutely correct. When you hang a left off Beverly right there on Elm, there is no walkway. I actually have to walk up on that dirt embankment right there because there's absolutely no spot to walk, and the cars fly right around there. It's downhill. They're really able to obtain a lot of speed, so I'm really happy they're going to be slowing down over there. We're also, going to be speaking about how we can make it safer for walking because we want to increase active transportation within our community, as you've seen all the things our council's been doing. So I am also excited for these speed humps right there. I echo Ms. Shriver's previous comment about slowing traffic on Vale Terrace, and I know we have a lot of plans for that, which we'll be speaking with you about. A couple of things we've got submitted to the federal government per se, but as far as those speed humps, I think it should make a huge difference at that corner. So I thank you for that, and I move to approve this item as presented.
Deputy Mayor Contreras.
Yeah, I grew up on off of Warmlands, and my grandparents still live over there, and I think this is a huge improvement. And I just want to thank the community for really getting together and advocating to your local government. Oftentimes this is where you can see immediate change. So just thank you so much, and I second the motion. And this was brought forth by our petition process, is that correct?
That's correct.
All right, so you'll see a lot of speed humps on our agenda today. We have a wonderful process that the council passed where neighborhoods can get together. You can talk to your neighbors, get a team captain, and go around and advocate for the traffic calming measures that you want to see in your neighborhood. And I know it's been a long time coming, so thank you again for the hard work of going door to door, and I happily second this.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Please cast your votes. That item is approved unanimously. That'll bring us to item C9, and Sid Rothenberg was requested to speak on this item. You have 3 minutes.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. I'm pleased that the Traffic Commission approved placing speed humps on Lado de Loma, and I anticipate the council will approve the recommendation tonight. I want to point out there are 2 pages of petition signatures not reflected in your packet, and therefore not reflected on the verification map. There are 400 property owners, so this map, if you can find it, on this hillside affected by Lado de Loma Guajome Street issues. Please look closely at the petition map at the bottom half of the page. Starting at the 3-way stop of Lado de Loma and Guajome Street, down the street towards Lowe's is an easement road, Astro Court, with a zigzag intersection with Rancho Vista Road. There's also about 5 driveways between Guajome Street and Rancho Vista Road. This is a particularly dangerous section of Lado de Loma because more cars speed past the stop signs without slowing down. Today I was almost run over by a car that's speeding over 50 miles an hour down Lado de Loma. Speed humps placements need to be carefully considered. I believe only 4 speed humps are being considered, but I think 5 speed humps would be more effective. I have seen the radar speed sign at Eddy Road register many cars speeding downhill toward Lowe's over 50 miles per hour on a posted 25 mile per hour road. In February 2021, 4,646 car passes were counted on Lado de Loma. Surely there's been a considerable increase in 2 years. Lado de Loma is frequently used for high-speed car chases to rival any movie chase scene. Lado de Loma and Guajome Street have become a major bypass and shortcut to avoid traffic calming and areas of heavily traveled streets. In the packet, it states funding will be available in fiscal year 2023-24. Perhaps the higher car speeds and number of property owners invested in a safer area overall could statistically raise the priority level for installation of the speed humps to fiscal year 2022-23. I want to make the council aware that the issue problem is not Lado de Loma alone, but includes Guajome Street as part of the bypass shortcut. Guajome Street is an extension of Lado de Loma. Speeding and structural design issues must be considered in the very near future. The Kenshaw Residential Project projects there will be 1,100 daily car passes added to the already congested Guajome Street, Lotto de Loma corridor. The city needs to proceed with a thorough due diligence study in advance regarding all traffic patterns, considerations, amelioration, and mitigation of South Santa Fe, Guajome Street, and Lotto de Loma before approving and rezoning the Kencha residential project. Be proactive, please. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Contreras.
Thank you for your comments, and I move to approve this item. And I also do have a question regarding our safety plan, looking at different speeds and different parts of Vista where we could have more infrastructure to make it safer for folks to walk and bike and also to drive. Is this area of Lado de Loma around Guajome, are we looking to put that, is that going to be part of the safety plan as well?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Sam Hassan, City Vista Traffic Engineer. So the citywide safety action plan just kicked off, and the way that the streets are included in the plan is dependent on the accident pattern. So the first step in the process is to look at the accidents citywide for the last 3 or 5 years and identifying the hot spots. So for a street to be looked at specifically in detail, it would have to be kind of in the upper range of concentration of accidents. So it's not known at this time if Lado de Loma would fit in that or not yet.
Okay, but that's something we will assess.
Yeah, we'll look at the entire city, look at the accidents, and generate these maps where they kind of show where the concentration of accidents are so we can focus on the high accident locations.
Okay, and potentially in a separate review of high-density areas that are supposed to be more walkable, we could have a discussion at that time to see if there's any other places in the city that maybe currently don't have an accident history, but that we want to ensure that there's safety for folks that are going to be walking around, biking, driving, especially where the Inland Rail Trail is going to be made. I think it would be important to figure out really safe connections on and off that trail. So thank you. I just wanted to get some more clarification on that.
Councilmember Melendez.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Please cast your votes. That item is approved unanimously. That'll bring us to item C10, which is speed humps on Sunset Drive. And we have quite a few speakers this evening that would like to speak on this. And just going to quickly go through this. We have Kathleen Warren is in support of the speed bumps. You'll be first to speak. And then we have William Warren also in favor. We have Ed Lloyd, who's in favor. We have Brandy Sebastian is in favor. And we have Vicky Beenan also in favor. We have Carolyn Holmes in favor. And we have Kevin Allen also in favor. So if you would, go ahead and come forward. If you choose not to speak, we'll go ahead and note your support. And we'll start with Kathleen Warren.
I'm very happy that you're going to put the speed bumps on Sunset Drive because the speeding is, it's a lot. And we've had a lot of problems with people going through people's fences. I've personally had to replace my mailbox at least a dozen times over the last 30 years plus, so it's an issue. What I want to talk about besides the speed bumps is the street lights. We have no street lights on Sunset Drive, and it's super dark. I think that's a safety hazard, and especially this time of year when things are, it starts getting dark a lot earlier. We have a ton of pedestrian traffic walking on the road, bicycles, seniors, high school kids, everybody walks on Sunset. And then I also wanted to talk about the amount of traffic on Sunset. It's just thousands and thousands of cars. And I'm sure the speed bumps are going to deter some people, but I don't think it's going to be a whole lot, simply because there is not another alternative, unless you want to take Mar Vista, which is way out of the way, or Hacienda, which is a really long way away. If you want to go to the post office from one side of town to the other, you're going to take Sunset Drive. So I did a little bit of research, and for about $450, you can get solar streetlights. And we pay for that on our property taxes already. And then branding iron is always been designed to be the crosstown road and not Sunset Drive. About 3 blocks need to be completed in order to fix our traffic problem. A lot of days I can't even get out of my driveway, as my neighbors and all of that. So I'd like you to consider completing that. It's been a huge thing throughout the years, as John Conley is well aware. And I think it's time, with all the new development that we have going on around Sunset Drive, the traffic is exponential right now. It's, you know, a lot. And while I really appreciate the speed bumps, I don't know how much that's really going to impact the amount of traffic on Sunset. So I would really appreciate if you would take another look at that. It's been on the general plan for forever. And, you know, it's an existing 4-lane road with a turn lane, huge jumbo sidewalks.
Thank you very much. Okay, and next we'll have, if you'd like to speak, we have also in favor William Warren, Ed Lloyd, and Brandy Sebastian. If you'd come forward and be ready when it's your turn. Mr. Warren?
Yes, thank you for letting us talk again after I don't know how many decades, because Sunset since then has turned into a real melee of over traffic. And don't get me wrong, we really will appreciate the speed humps. But like I say, I've been afraid to just go to my mailbox. I've encountered road rage, my life threatened, and the speeders aren't just in a 25 zone. There, some of them at night or even during the day are doing 60 to 80 miles an hour. It is full road rage. So the humps would really, really help, and I hope to see them on the agenda. And we had some notes and stuff about Carriage Hill and Escondido Avenue, how it's something like only a couple of dirt lots left that were, you know, already surveyed and done and analysis, and said it was an estuary for animals, when I went and looked and it was just leftover construction, cement slabs and stuff. It was really disgusting. But I'm really hoping that I see some of these things on the agenda, because that road was approved by the city to go through, and it's already been halfway done, so it's already been paid for by us. Plus, it was supposed to be a project analysis coming right down into some of those other roads you've been talking about to make a really nice center for Vista, you know. And that's the only way it's going to happen and people to be more happy in this city. Because, like I say, things take a long time, but we've already paid for streetlights, and we've waited and waited for something to happen with all this congestion and all the traffic. So I appreciate you guys giving us another chance at this, and really hope to see some of these things on the agenda for Sunset. Thank you.
Ed Lloyd, followed by Brandy Sebastian and Vicky Beenan.
Mr. Mayor, City Council members,
Thank you for the opportunity to address the City Council regarding the dangerous traffic conditions on Sunset Drive, specifically between Crestview Road and Melrose Drive. My goal, along with 90% of the residents who live on Sunset, is to slow the traffic down, control the speeding, the reckless driving, and create a safe neighborhood environment with the installation of speed humps. I first moved to Vista in 1959. I've lived on Sunset since the 90s. I've witnessed cars upside down in neighbors' front yards, telephone poles taken out, mailboxes run over, and at this point, Sunset has become a racetrack for commuters with speeds in excess of 50 miles an hour, morning, noon, and night. Sunset Drive is a narrow, winding hillside road with posted advisory speeds of as low as 15 miles an hour. The majority of our driveways are hidden by trees, telephone poles, curves, making it very dangerous because of speeders when we try to leave our driveways. Walking across the street to the mailbox or to speak to a neighbor is like having to cross one lane of Highway 78. There's no sidewalks or streetlights. We cannot allow grandkids to play in the front yard for fear of speeders losing control of their vehicles. I've spoken with numerous parents on Sunset, and none of them allow their children to play in the front yard because of the danger. Sunset Drive is a residential connector street between two busy roads, Highway 78 and Melrose Drive. I've researched throughout the county, and almost every city has taken positive measures to control the speeding cars on similar connector roads. For instance, Carlsbad, Tamarack Avenue between El Camino and Interstate 5, speed humps. Oceanside, Downs and Ivy Street between Oceanside Boulevard and 78, speed humps. There's many more examples, I just don't have time. Speed humps are a modification that will curb speeding, encourage responsible driving, promote residential-friendly streets. It's a long-term fix. Signs are a short-term fix. Sheriff's Department is great. However, unless they're there every day, that's a short-term fix also. Traffic Engineering Division of Vista evaluated the speeds on Sunset between Crestview Road and Melrose Drive. After their evaluation, your traffic engineering professionals recommended the installation of speed humps. This was presented to the traffic commissioners, and they also approved the installation of speed humps. Not only do you have two advisory bodies recommending speed humps on Sunset, you have a majority petition by the residents of Sunset. This is a public safety issue for our community. Please support and protect the neighborhood before someone is killed. The cost to take some preventative safety measures to protect the residents in our neighborhood will far outweigh the cost of ignoring putting in the speed humps. I really appreciate your approval on this agenda, and I know when it comes to funding, that's always an issue, but this is a safety issue. Let's put that in front of cosmetic issues or anything like that, but very grateful for the opportunity to be here, and thank you for your time.
Brandy Sebastian, followed by Vicky Beenan, followed by Carolyn Holmes.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. I appreciate the opportunity to speak on speed humps for Sunset between Crestview and Voluntary Road. As our communities expand throughout our city, there are more and more vehicles on our roads. I have watched in the 13 years of owning our home at 920 Sunset tremendous speeding as well as an extremely serious accident doors down from my home. I work from home and hear cars, trucks, delivery trucks, and even construction vehicles driving well beyond the 25-mile-an-hour speed limit on our road. We are a community of people walking our children, our dogs, elders walking, and students walking home from school. Many of us walk our dogs at night when we get home from work and when it's cooler. We do not have sufficient sidewalks and lighting. Many hidden driveways and easements exist in this stretch, which also makes driving in or backing out of our driveways challenging, as we sadly see vehicle owners zooming around us, honking at us, and yes, sadly, yelling out obscenities and sometimes worse. We take a risk every day with those who, more than likely, do not live in our community and use our road as a shortcut between the 78 Melrose. I have parroted much of what has already been said. Please vote yes for speed humps on Sunset Drive. Thank you.
Vicky Beenan, followed by Carolyn Holmes, followed by Kevin Allen.
Hi, and thank you very much for listening to us. I ditto everybody about Sunset Drive and the other places around here, about the speeding and the speed humps. Hopefully, we'll take care of that. But something that I've never heard anybody address is when you position them, should you vote yes, which I hope you do, this time of year, the sun, when it's setting on Sunset, before you get to the stop sign where Buena Vista cuts in, it's Buena Vista tees into Sunset, you cannot see. It's like the sun is just right at you. And I think positioning of the speed bumps might help that, because there was a child hit there on a bike. It's been probably 20, how old are my kids? At least 20 years, maybe 25. But it was never recorded. You guys will have no record of it. We know, because we lived there then, since I think 78. And then over on Vale Terrace, in the morning at this time of year, the sunrise, you cannot see when you go to turn in to Brangle Terrace Park, to the rec center part of it. It's just really blinding. So maybe address that. And I second I wish you would put the old Escondido Avenue through down in Carriage Hills. You know, you go from a 4-lane road down there into this nothingness. They just stopped. So I think that was it. The positioning of the speed bumps, I think more rather than less, and that might detour some of the traffic, because the apartments, the detached condos, the high-density housing is going up anywhere that you have. All the little old churches that were on 1 or 2 acres, they're putting 30, 40 detached condos on there. So you know that adds to the amount of traffic that goes by. And they are just out of control, driving-wise. So thank you.
Carolyn Holmes, followed by Kevin Allen.
Thank you for listening to us tonight. My husband and I have lived on Sunset since March of 1981, and there have been 3 accidents across the street from us that we can document. One, a speeding car lost control and just missed the house by ending up in a pile of cactus. Another one, a motorcyclist lost control and knocked down the fence across the street. And just within the last few months, a truck went out of control and hit the tree across the street and knocked out their water. And it seems to me that there was another time in the night, it was foggy, a speeding motorist came down and hit a electric pole, and we were out of electricity for a while. So backing out of our driveway is somewhat suicidal on Sunset. No joke, even yesterday, it was pretty scary. We live about 5 homes from east of Melrose on Sunset. And so that's where it curves around. I would suggest that's where speed bumps need to be, warning speed bumps right there. I know none of us like speed bumps in parking lots, but I think this is a good alternative before someone gets killed on our street. Also, I'm another walker. I love to walk on our street, but I've had to stop walking early morning, and I have to go later in the day because of people tearing down our street. I guess, and also police presence. I haven't really seen any motorcyclists, policemen out there checking for traffic. That would be another alternative too, or to go with the speed bumps. Thank you.
Kevin Allen.
Thank you, the mayor and city council. And I want to thank the traffic commission for recommending the speed humps. I want to thank the sheriff's department for speed control on Sunset Drive. And I'd like to bring to the attention that the speed bumps are just a mitigation factor. They are just a Band-Aid to an existing problem that has existed for more than 50 years. When our neighbors down below us in Carriage Hills, when their project was discussed in the city council, it was a condition precedent for construction of that project that Escondido Avenue, now known as Branding Iron Circle, would be completed and taken care of and would connect Melrose to the 78 freeway. That was a condition precedent that's been now 50 years in the making. We now have a problem with the fact that everyone here most likely has traveled between the courthouse and Shadow Ridge. When I first became a resident of Sunset Drive, Melrose dead-ended at Sunset Drive. It was just a 2-lane road that stopped. Before that road was completed with Melrose going all the way into Shadow Ridge community, it was already determined by the city council that Escondido Avenue, that was still named at that point in time, would continue and go through. But instead of mitigating and doing what was promised by the city council, they went ahead and connected Melrose, taking homes of elderly, retired individuals, bulldozing them that are down. Their homes used to be in the middle of the intersection that is now Sunset and Melrose, and continued Melrose Drive all the way through, but never once considered, because of other political reasons, taking Escondido Avenue through, as promised, in the mid-70s. We on Escondido Avenue appreciate the opportunity for speed humps, but it is only a mitigation factor. How many people have driven between this location and the 78 freeway? Before that road, Escondido Avenue, was widened and straightened, it was a zigzag to get to the freeway. That was also approved after the Carriage Hills thoroughfare was approved by the city council. I'm running out of time. I just want to thank you for the opportunity to mitigate what you already know is an existing problem and a factor. And as a note on speeding, a white Suburban with City of Vista plates
Thank you. Councilmember Melendez.
Thank you. Thank you to everyone who came to speak tonight. It's always great to hear from neighbors about how infrastructure is affecting you. And for this item, as with many speed hump items, I am supportive of speed humps, and I am supportive of any effort that we can make to calm traffic in the area, especially when we hear about rampant property damage, death and injury to pets and loved ones. It's enough. We have to make sure that residential streets are for the neighbors to enjoy and feel safe on. And I'm really grateful for all the neighbors for signing the petition and participating in the process. So I'll go ahead and move to approve this item C10 for speed humps on Sunset Drive. Thank you.
Councilmember O'Donnell.
To all the residents that showed up tonight, thank you very much. I really do genuinely appreciate you being here and sharing your collective voice. My wife and I were fortunate enough to be able to buy a home a few years ago, and we actually almost purchased a home on 612 Sunset. And for those of you that don't know where that is, it's the blue house with the big white fence on the turn that nobody slows down for. And one of the reasons we didn't buy it was because of the amount of traffic that were coming over there or going down that street, especially because we just started our family, we intend to grow it, and we didn't feel it would be safe raising a family right there. I am very much in favor of this, and I have talked to many residents when I was running for this position. One of the largest concerns was sidewalks and speeding and a lot of other things. Not a lot of residents want lights over there that have been there for a long time, but I do agree that it's needed because it is very dark, especially when it's well, obviously at nighttime, but it does get very dark when you're trying to navigate over there, and it is genuinely very hard to see. I actually take Sunset here and home to every one of these meetings. So I do travel it often. I've been a large proponent for trying to mitigate this. And I want you to know that please reach out to me because I don't know what I don't see every day. A lot of you have lived here in this community much longer than I have. You've seen a lot more than I have. please reach out and let's have a larger discussion on what we can do to make that area safer, to mitigate the traffic, to stop the cut-through traffic, and do everything we can to keep our family and residents safe. Because when I do see kids walking either home from school or down that street, or I talk to families that won't go walk their dog or won't walk their children because they are afraid to go out and because they think they're going to get hit by a car because people don't slow down. So I just want to thank you for your support. I'm going to second this motion, and please do reach out so we can have a larger conversation.
Deputy Mayor Contreras.
I want to thank the public again for all the hard work that you did to bring this before the council. And I also want to use this time just to give a little bit of history of how we got here. You know, it took me 2 terms to get elected twice to be able to have traffic calming petitions. And it took the changing of a majority on the council to really take a look at comprehensive public safety, which includes being able to safely be in your house without a car driving through it, which means being able to walk in your own neighborhood and feeling safe, right? That you can have that walk to your neighbors, or, you know, a beautiful on sunset, right? Watch the sunset and be able to have that type of community. So I really also want to take this time to thank my council members here on this side and right here for really, you know, going with the idea that's coming from the public, right? Not going against the wishes of the public, but really saying, hey, I hear you. We got to figure out how we change the institution so that it meets the needs that you have in your community. And that's why you're seeing, you know, petitions for stop signs and for speed humps. And so please let your friends throughout the city know that there is a process that you can go through and evaluate traffic calming in your community, because as we become more dense, we absolutely need to be able to focus our tax dollars and make ourselves more connected and not just have these ever widening roads that just make you know, these racetrack-like conditions for folks. You know, when we build for peak hours, unfortunately, when it's not peak hours for traffic, that's what we've seen throughout the community on, you know, Melrose, on Beaubier, on Vista Way, right? And then folks that are, you know, trying to avoid some of the traffic calming measures, we need to ensure that those residential communities that you're a part of stay residential and don't become cut through traffic. So I'm really, really proud of this council for doing the hard work of telling, you know, it's not always easy to tell the fire department, hey, I don't understand why you're going against speed humps, and really investigate that. And then to go against, you know, even you know, our previous city manager who really didn't want to change the concept of public safety when it comes to adding speed humps and stop signs. So thank you so much, and continue to show up. If this is your first time here, don't let it be your last, all right? And I want to ask Sam, if when we do our safety action plan, are we going to have workshops? I mean, obviously this has been an ongoing topic for folks here in our community, that they want to see more safety in you know, their residential areas.
Yes, we will have at least one workshop at the local level, and then we're partnering with Sandag on the kind of the regional plan as well, so they will have workshops as well. And then the ultimate objective of the plan is to develop a set of projects that we can further develop and apply for grant funding. So on those specific projects, we might have more like maybe focused neighborhood workshops as well before we take it to the next step to apply for grant funding.
Okay, yeah, so I just want to say we definitely need to have neighborhood level conversations, and even outside of that plan, you know, I figure that with this plan, there's going to be a prioritization because there's only so much funding. But, you know, we have heard just in the course of today's council meeting that there's a big appetite for calming traffic down in the city. And I don't want any of our neighborhoods to be left behind in that conversation. So if we could please ensure that we, over the course of the next 12 months, are able to have more discussions and workshops where it's not like this, right? You got your 3 minutes and then it's over, but there's not really a back and forth, right? Having those workshops where people can be hands-on with the map, you can have, your representative there, and there's not this, wall between us where we can really have community level conversations. So I would really encourage the city to do that for our residents. Thank you.
Councilmember O'Donnell.
Sam, while I have you, I'm just going to put you on the spot. I know we just did all of our studies on streetlights, so if we could add Sunset and the surrounding areas to just take a look and see if it'd be possible to add them, I'd really appreciate that.
We will.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Please cast your votes. That item is approved unanimously. That'll bring us to item C11, speed humps on Taylor Drive. And we have, I can't read the first name. That's, I think it's Mr. Ghosh.
Thank you, Mayor and the City Council. So on the behalf of this particular petition, I live in Hayden Ranch Road, which is just off of Taylor Street, but just like many other neighborhood street, we got to use Taylor Street for any kind of commuting. And the situation we have, being a small community, and when we move to Taylor Street, we have a blind spot on the left-hand side, and we have a blind spot on the right-hand side. And as you have noticed that, that the speed is quite high in that particular street. I mean, I think the last study, came around 45 or something, but I mean, I barely see any car driving less than 50 speed. So, and I'm living in that particular area for last 4 years, and I can vouch that the number of traffic has increased 3 times in last 3 years, because it has effectively become a connector between North Santa Fe and East Vista Way. And there are a lot of areas where we see the people are doing donuts and things like that, and it really has become a dangerous road, And I like to run in the neighborhood. I mean, I stopped running in that unpaved portion of Taylor Street for last 1 year or so because it has become too risky. So yeah, I'm hopeful this petition will get approved, and so yeah, that's my. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor Contreras.
Thank you again to the public. See, we have speed humps all over the agenda today, which is great. Taylor is one of those streets that I just think at the intersection of even Taylor and Goodwin, it's just way too wide, right? So I just happily move speed humps on Taylor. Hopefully I get a second, and we're going to continue to look, especially in areas that are very near schools, right? We want to build safe routes to schools. We know that every day there's going to be children and parents walking, and so we need to have a commitment to our community that we're going to keep our children safe, right? So thank you again for bringing this petition forward, and I go ahead and move that we approve C11.
Councilmember Green.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Deputy Mayor Contreras, especially for all your work over here. Whether you guys like those rubber humps in the middle of the road or not, they were petitioned and they were helped placed there by Deputy Mayor Contreras to try to mitigate the traffic. We've realized that you can do donuts right around those little rubber humps in the middle of the road, and also those little rubber humps do not seem to last for the test of time, and the big metal poles pop out of the middle eventually and bust tires. So I received several calls actually from residents on Taylor, just because it is a cut through. through from Vista Way right over there to Santa Fe. It actually is right in between our two districts there. And I, just like everybody else, just like, Councilmember O'Donnell, I also use Taylor Street. I have a son who goes to Mission Vista High School, and Vista Way backs up all the way to 76, and you take Taylor Street, right down Riviera, get to Hutchison, and kind of do the cut through. So mitigating traffic so that we can all enjoy our neighborhoods is a huge thing. The speed bumps that are going in on Elm Drive and Foothill over there that we spoke about earlier are right around the corner from my house. And I have 4 dogs that I walk in the neighborhood regularly. And I've complained to my city manager about overgrown trees that make me walk in the middle of the road because we have no sidewalks over there. So I appreciate the community engagement. I appreciate your work on it. And these speed humps will actually, is my understanding, take the entire duration of the road. Is that correct, Sam?
Yeah, that's correct. The entire width, yeah.
Yes, so they won't be able to go around, and if you try to do donuts on that bad boy, it will really mess you up, I assume. So anyways, I second this, and I definitely thank the community for their outreach and support in getting this done. Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Please cast your votes. That item is approved unanimously. We have one discussion item this evening. We have a proposed traffic signal at East Vista Way and Franklin Lane. If there are any members of the public that wish to speak on this item, they may indicate so by using the raise their hand feature or by pressing *9 or by submitting a request to speak card. Speakers will be called upon after the presentation. Councilmember Green asked for this item to be placed on the agenda, so I will ask him to introduce the item.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor. If I could ask the city clerk to get my slideshow up for me, please, I'd greatly appreciate it. I got a slideshow. It's cool. Check it out. Boom. 3, 2, 1. Slideshow. Just joking. And scene, there we go. All right, so I've been approached by several members of the community, several local businesses. A couple of my kids' friends actually used to live on Franklin Lane growing up. I've lived in Vista my entire life. I grew up on East Los Angeles Street, which is now Townside Drive, and I have traversed this area via bike and walking and car my entire life. So today we're talking about East Vista Way and Franklin Lane, a traffic signal, median break, and crosswalk. Next sign, please. So this raised median that was installed on Vista Way was installed on East Vista Way with grant funding and no community input at all. I actually walked the neighborhood on Friday with Deputy Mayor Contreras and a canvassing team, and we talked to several residents over there, and I want to say at least 20 residents that we talked to, and 20 out of 20 were like, hey, let's do this. I actually had a resident who said she woke up one morning, came to the bottom of her hill, and realized she could no longer turn left. That's how she found out about the median being raised. And after we closed Vons over here in Vista, well, Vons left our community, the only shopping center for all of these residents is Albertsons, which is a left-hand turn out of Franklin. And if you want to go left on that street, there is a lot of work to do. So this median right here that you see on the right-hand side leads you right up to Townsite Drive, where the mandatory U-turn is. And on the left is just kind of an overview of Vista Way to Franklin Avenue. And we have some medium to high density housing back there, over 200 residences back there that were all affected. Next slide, please. So what I didn't realize is the raised median on Vista Way affects 3 intersections as well as the calls for service at Station 3 right next to Wildwood there. The intersection of Franklin and Vista Way, the intersection of Townsite Drive and Vista Way, and also the intersection of Hillside Drive and Vista Way. At Franklin Drive and Vista Way, it's clear, obviously, you can't exit turning left. People can't get into their actual residences turning left off of Vista Way anymore. But even more importantly, and the thing that initially brought this to my attention, is the backup in the queue making the U-turn at Townsite Drive. It's a single lane queue that's about 100, 120 yards, but the cars actually back up and block the entire third lane all the way to the fire station right there. And if you are one of the unfortunate souls that got stuck in that lane and doesn't want to turn left and wants to go straight, you take your life into your own hands going into the second lane as traffic moves at a very high pace. So that was what initially brought this to my attention. Then I spoke with local firefighters and also residents and realized that if there was an emergency right across the street from our fire department, they can't just go right there. We spoke with a resident by the name of Griselda, whose mother suffered from cancer and was having to call our sheriff's department once a week up until the time she passed. And the response times were just unbelievably long. And if you could imagine waiting there with your loved one on the floor for a fire department to respond from across the street, that takes too long because of a raised median nobody really discussed, you may feel that way as well. The Townsite Drive into Vista Way should be a left-hand turn for residents to go into their community. That's now turned into a U-turn for everybody that accesses Franklin and everybody that accesses all of those businesses. The other unfocused impact that I didn't realize was Hillside Drive and Vista Way. Every resident that lives on Franklin, in order to turn left, they actually have to cut through that business. So you have Chin's there, you have Froggy's there, you have the frame store there, and residents are only using it to fly through, get to Hillside Terrace, and turn left. And that is actually used for kids drop off and pickup and a lot of things. So it's really dangerous to have them go through here. Next slide, please. So the unforeseen consequences of this raised median are a lot of illegal U-turns, rear-end accidents, dangerous pedestrian crossing, side swipe accidents, driving over the median, cutting through neighboring businesses' parking lots, and a long backup at the Townsite Drive U-turn. Just over the last, since the 25th, I just got a little information from a business that has a camera on that intersection. And as you see on the left there, we had somebody cut through a property the wrong way to make a U-turn, a rear-end impact, somebody drive over the median, jaywalking, which although it's not illegal to go through 6 lanes of traffic going super fast, it is extremely unsafe. And then also somebody went over the median right back to the street. So there's definitely issues there, and I feel like putting a traffic brake, a median brake, and a crosswalk there is gonna make a huge difference for the community. Next slide, please. So what's the ask? Basically what I'm trying to do here with my council is just build consensus so that we can direct staff to come up with what the cost is and what the concept would be for a median brake, a traffic signal, and a crosswalk at this intersection. We see a lot of kids that go to Vista Magnet Middle School over here. We got kids that go to Beaumont Elementary School. I mean, it's a very high pedestrian spot for kids. And the only crosswalk for kids right now is at Civic Center in Vista Way. And if you've ever tried to go down Civic Center or go down Vista Way and hang a left on Civic Center, the last 3 cars all run the red light. And kids are always trying to cross right there. And I think that this would be a great alternative crosswalk for additional children who live up in that area, as opposed to having to go through all of that traffic. So more than anything, this is a safety issue. Next slide, please. Now, this is something that I have brought forward before, and this may be a different type of discussion because I understand there may be some hesitations with my traffic engineering or traffic engineering in general when it comes to different concepts for crosswalks. I have always loved the idea of artistic crosswalks, bringing more attention to crosswalks and making them more visible to drivers. I know from a maintenance standpoint, that's typically where cities frown on this because you don't want anything too intricate. But I just want to kind of run it past my council. When we look at doing a median brake, a traffic signal, and a crosswalk, not that even this particular location may be the best location for a creative crosswalk, but I really feel like at the locations where our schools are and our kids are, really brightening up that area to draw more attention to the crosswalk so that it looks like a safer area to traverse for students and pedestrians would be a good thing. So before we just put the standard yellow ladder crosswalk in, I just kind of wanted to bring that forward, that we could speak with traffic engineering, Sam and Greg, who I definitely value your input on this, but I really wanted to see if we could have some type of creative design when it comes to crosswalks. Next slide, please. So really what I'm hoping to do is have staff come up with a potential design and cost by year end and potentially program the CIP with year end or surplus funds or reserves on hand if possible. Now, what the community needs to know is anytime you do a project like this or speed humps or anything, it costs money. And when the items are unbudgeted, we need to find what's called unallocated funds or surplus funds to pay for this. In order to pay for it, we have to have the project kind of designed and ready to go. So my ask for my council is to direct staff to do it. The second ask is, hey, staff, can you come back and tell us maybe where the money's gonna be? So with that, I hope this is something that my community and my council can get behind. I really feel like this is a quality of life issue. I think it's going to make a huge difference for not only the residents on Franklin, but everybody that drives up and down East Vista Way daily. And I'm talking about the actual the actual bed and breakfast traffic, the ones who live here, the ones who are trying to go home, not just the people cutting through. So I really feel like this is a make sense improvement. I know that it's costly, but I feel like it's going to save lives, it's going to save property, and it's really going to let the community know that we're listening to their issues in that area. So with that, I would like to hear from my council and hopefully get a consensus to move forward. And listen to speakers first. Not allowed to clap, but I definitely appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. Our municipal ordinance does require that you not clap during this portion of the meeting. That's so that we can maintain decorum and have a business-like meeting here. So we would ask you to adhere to that. We do have a number of public speakers this evening, and we'll start with Richard Jones. And when I call your name, would you please come forward and sit in the front row and be ready to speak when it is your turn, as a courtesy to the person who's waiting behind you. Richard Jones, followed by Barry Walker, followed by Tom Diller. Is Richard Jones with us? Sorry.
24 years in the Navy.
Apologize.
All righty, good evening. Thank you for giving me a voice today. First few questions you already answered. I want to know how many lights, if it was going to be turning into an intersection or making it like barnacles. And because I remember right, barnacles, they actually paid for that light. So, and now you're already saying you're trying to find, I'd rather see that whole island go away, because that was the main avenue for the firehouse. Now my balcony, my condo, I stare down at that intersection at Townsite, and you'll sit there at between 4 and 6 in the evening, just watch the fire trucks just sit there, watch the ambulance sit there. Someone's gonna die because they sit there. Get rid of that island, gets rid of the problem. If you do go ahead and put it in a traffic light, you put in the crosswalks and all that, please don't decorate it the same way it looks like the weed store on the corner. That's an embarrassment, and we don't need that. And also I'd like to ask, with the accidents in that area, ever since you put that island in, did the accidents stay the same or did they decrease? Everyone, because most of the accidents were people coming in and out of the 99-cent store. So do we really need to have that island? Because there's always accidents there still. And it's not the locals, it's the people cutting through going home to Temecula. So, okay, thank you.
Barry Walker, followed by Tom Diller, followed by John Kane. If you would, go ahead and come on down if your name was called.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor Franklin and esteemed City Council and staff. I appreciate you bringing this to the city's attention and allowing the discussion to happen. And a fantastic presentation, Councilman Green. I thought that was great. And I apologize, I was the first one to clap. I just saw everyone else do it earlier. My fault, my bad. Years ago, when we saw the median go in, we had purchased the property at 732 East Vista Way, and we sat there and scratched our head kind of and said, "Wow, okay, interesting, that's great. You know, it looks neat. It's a nice curb. It's a median, all that." But we weren't too sure how it was going to affect business and stuff. We have watched over the last couple of years, and it became very aware very soon that it was not about business. It was about safety. We have witnessed tremendous, ridiculous stuff happen. People backing up hundreds of feet just so they can get through that little turn because it's the only one, you know. We've seen really, really scary, very near misses on pedestrians and you know, it just goes on and on. So I'll keep it short. I know there's a lot of people that want to share, and I appreciate it bringing it to everyone's attention. Thank you very much.
Tom Diller, followed by John Kane, followed by Edgar Gaitan, if you would come forward, please be ready to speak.
Thanks for this opportunity and soliciting the input. I actually brought some visual aids. I didn't know Joe was going to be presenting. This might give you a little bit more clarity. For what I suggest and what I propose, I think you need a four-way stop sign, signal. And some things that Joe had highlighted that were really great. There was a couple things missing there, is that when you're going north on Vista Way and you want to make that U-turn to come back to Franklin Lane, you have a bunch of people that are trying to turn right at the same time you're trying to make a U-turn. And typically it's trucks that can't make it, so it's a bottleneck. The other thing is with the increased population and the businesses that are right at the corner of Franklin Lane and East Vista Way that I've highlighted on that sketch, that's caused a lot more traffic and a lot more people wanting to go left when they're going north and wanting to make that U-turn. And coming out of those businesses, they want to go to Civic Center Drive and then to 78, which with the construction at the school right there, they can't make it. And the only thing you can do is you can turn right and go down to maybe Michigan Avenue, make a U-turn just to go to Civic Center Drive because the cars, as I showed in my sketch, are backed up all the way. You can't get into that lane. And then I go wanting to go left 2 or 3 times or 4 times a day, whether I'm commuting to work or going to other activities. So those are some of the other issues that maybe I'm highlighting for you. I think having left turn lanes going both directions on East Vista Way with a traffic signal and pedestrian walkway to go across would work. It would break that deadlock up for going to either Civic Center or going the other way. And I've also seen people actually cutting through those businesses, going the wrong way on Vista Way to get to the U-turn to make that turnaround. And it's a danger, it's a hazard. So I would appreciate seeing a traffic light there. I've been up on Franklin Lane now 4 or 5 years. I'm not going to move whether you put a traffic light in or not, but it'd be nice to see. Thanks.
Tom Diller, followed by John Kane, followed by Edgar Gaitan. If you would come forward and be ready to speak. Mr. Diller? Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. Mr. Kane.
Yes, sir. Thanks for your time. My concerns are for the citizens of Vista, which includes children, homeowners on Franklin, anyone else that might be driving through the Vista Village. I'm a FedEx guy for 21 years. I'm on the safety team there. I constantly drive through Vista Village and see accidents all the time. I agree with Joe Green about the Civic Center and think the kids would have a safer opportunity to cross at a quicker rate and have a safer opportunity to cross the street with a light at Franklin. I've hand witnessed many accidents there for the last 21 years, really bad ones. In fact, 3 weeks ago, there was one on Civic Center with three or four cars rolled over. So I'm sure you guys heard about that, but appreciate your time. And just being a witness out there in the street, I can tell you firsthand that it's pretty dangerous out there. And people are cutting through the businesses to go everywhere. And my heart goes out to the people that live on Franklin because it's already tied up there. So, and me going into businesses is with people coming down, I've had people skid away and it's a nightmare. So thanks for your time and I appreciate you.
Edgar Gaitan, followed by David Nance.
Thank you, City Council, for giving me the opportunity to speak. I work at a business at 7732 East Vista Way. So if one thing that I've seen working there almost 4 years now is the need for the residents of Franklin and of Vista to be able to turn in and out of there safely. One of the things that I did, and a part of Joe Green's presentation, was some of the video clips that we submitted in just a small time. So I literally went through video footage and saw all this happen. So we submitted some proof, but one question I asked to you guys is how much more do you need before there's more property damaged and lives are lost? So thank you.
David Nance.
Good evening. I appreciate you guys meeting tonight. As a Vista resident, and I live and work right off of East Vista Way, so I see firsthand the traffic congestion along with the other issues that everybody's describing. For the one that we're presenting today, Franklin Ave, and just from the issues that you see, the danger you see as far as as far as crossing through businesses. There is a bus stop right in front of our business as well. Morning times, that's super dangerous as far as what I see, just the backups, the traffics, and people always try to go around the traffic. That's when you do see most interesting stuff go down. But just in general, the safety is the main issue. What I'd love to see is it just cleaned up in general, all the way up and down. If you go down to Civic Center, all the way up to Townsite, the stuff we see, it just amazes me with something hasn't been done earlier. So I do appreciate you guys putting this together today, and I look forward to see what we come up with. As far as any footage or anything from the businesses, we do have access to a lot of that. I'm not sure if you need it, as Edgar did mention previously. But again, appreciate you guys' time, and thank you very much.
Thank you. And I want to start out with a quick question for Mr. Hassanen. We talked on our last discussion about installing a signal about our list of, I believe it was 18 intersections that met the warrants. Is this one of those 18?
No, Mayor, this intersection had not been evaluated before, just never came up as an intersection on the radar for us to actually collect data and evaluate for a traffic signal.
Okay, so you haven't yet had a chance to evaluate this intersection?
Not specifically for a traffic signal.
So what I would like is I would like for the council and the city to comprehensively analyze all of our intersections based on need. I mean, I have a feeling there's a request coming for our most dangerous intersection for a light. These are $700,000 apiece. I would simply like to ask the council to have a holistic discussion about all of the intersections that need lights, and for us to decide with the community involved which intersections warrant a investment of $700,000 first and most important because of the data at those intersections. So I'm delighted, Councilmember Green, that you have brought forward this proposal to put my name in lights with Franklin Lane, and I compliment. Yes, I compliment your extremely well thought out proposal, and I appreciate that. I just I made a very considered point in the last discussion. So for those who did not participate in that discussion in a different part of the city, I voted against the last signal because I felt that it was absent the conversation about all of the intersections that we've identified that need signals. We did not have the data on that intersection. Mr. Hassanen, our traffic engineer, has not performed a study on this particular intersection. So I'd just like to have the data, and I'd like this council to have a conversation about which intersections are most important, and maybe we need to install 2 or 3 right away, and maybe this is one of them. I don't disagree about the need to install this light, but I would like to have a holistic and logical conversation where we include the data. So with that, I will pass it along to Councilmember Melendez.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Councilmember Green, for bringing this discussion forward. I did definitely think about the last discussion we had about traffic signals when I saw this on the agenda. And in that discussion, I think it was identified that there was a prioritization list that has never come before the council since I've been here for review. And I would like to see us evaluate intersections based on some type of criteria and ranking and prioritization, because I think that that could be helpful. But I also, from discussing the top most important location, which was Ascot Drive, right, the highest ranking during the last discussion, it provoked me to have a meeting with our city staff. I met with Sam and the city manager to discuss Ascot Drive. And in terms of Franklin, I don't know if it is a good location or not a good location for a traffic signal. I think that it is different characteristics than the top ranking intersection that is on this list that has never been, I've never seen, right, before a public meeting. And Ascot Drive, I am bringing it for a discussion item on, what was that, City Manager, the 24th? Right. Because I've reviewed the intersection with our staff, and I think that there are solutions that could be had there that might not even include an intersection, a signaled intersection. So in terms of this intersection, it sounds like Councilmember Green is asking for it to be studied and reviewed and brought back to us, which I'm very supportive of, getting more information. And I thought that there were some good points that you brought up. One, the cutting through business parking lots. I think that especially if there's drop-off zones and school zones in the area, that's a unique characteristic, right? That there are businesses being impacted and also school area being impacted. And this also allows for a pedestrian crossing where there needs to be one, right? So if I were to compare it to the top ranking on the prioritization list and look at Ascot Drive for a signaled intersection, the next nearest intersection in proximity to Ascot Drive is actually rather close, right? But when you look at Franklin, the next closest intersection, signaled intersection that provides a signaled safety but also pedestrian access is a good ways away, especially when you're talking about some dense neighborhoods where a lot of people are walking to school. I myself have done a trash pickup in that area, and it's impossible to cross the street unless you go further down to one of the other major intersections. So yeah, I would be supportive of looking at it more. I think that if we do have some sort of prioritization list, we have to have a comprehensive intersection management approach, right? Rather than to be tied to a prioritization list that, from talking with our city staff has really incredible skills and imagination to engineer solutions for intersections that are outside of what the prioritization list expresses. And I want us to be able to look at each of the areas where there is conflict and have options, right? If there's an intersection that has conflict, to be able to piece together a solution for that intersection that may or may not include a signal, right? So I'm looking at one of the top priorities in District 3, but I think that this is an important area where it's very heavily trafficked. I'm sure there's going to be interesting data that comes out from a study of it. I'm positive. And I also wanted to make a quick comment about creative crosswalks. So this is another thing I've talked to staff about, and I'll say that I was a little bit discouraged because we can't just paint the road. There are some federal guidelines that prohibit us from painting the middle of intersections in particular, right? There are some cities that have done some creative intersections where there's like circle painted in the middle of a four-way crossing, a four-way intersection, and those would not be recommended. So I've definitely had that conversation, but I don't know if we can get the slides back up where you talked about the creative crossing, because when it comes to crossing, that is something we can do. So there are some areas where we can't paint the road. It wouldn't be safer. It'd actually be more dangerous and distracting. But for a crosswalk, I particularly like the style. You see it on a couple of them here, where the lines are extended, right? The top right, with the purple lines are kind of extended, and it gives that extra visual cushion between the person crossing and the car. Because I don't know about you, but I'm definitely guilty of this. I have at times, you pull up to a signal and to an intersection, and I'm the first in line, and I'm parked in the crosswalk, right? It's so bad. It's so bad. I'm sure no one else has ever done that, but I've done that, and I always feel bad because then there's someone crossing, and they have to jump over the hood of my car to get to the other side. So a visual would be nice, right, to create a little extra buffer between what is the designated crossing and where should the car be for a safe distance, so that you're not parked in the middle of the intersection while someone is, being a pedestrian walking on the other side. Outside of that, we'll probably study it and get more information and look at financing for it. But in response to Mayor's concerns, let's definitely commit ourselves to looking at problematic and conflicted areas and to do the work of planning, right? Having a plan for each area. And I would be more enthusiastic about planning versus prioritization, because prioritization says this is the solution and this is the queue, and everybody is lined up waiting for this solution. But if we look at all these intersections and we come up with a plan for each one, then we can actually find a feasible way to get there. And, you know, in this case, in next council meeting, we'll be kind of taking it piece by piece, and I'll be bringing ASCOT forward to just put some suggestions out there. But outside of that, you know, I think that our council is committed to doing the planning, you know, really block by block, investigating how we can improve public safety and mobility. So, yeah, I'm all for it. I think it's a good discussion. Thanks.
Deputy Mayor Contreras.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Green, for bringing this forward. I want to entertain you with just two pieces of trivia. Which is the most dense district? That happens to be the district that I represent, District 1. Also, which is the only district in the city of Vista that doesn't have a fire station? That happens to be my district too. So District 1 is the most dense, and it doesn't have a fire station. But there's a fire station right across the street. And because no one really told anybody that this median was going forward, now we have a lot of issues. You know, I walk all over the place. It's one of my primary modes of transportation, that and public transit. And it's really difficult to navigate our community, to get from one place to another, because it's so hard to cross some of these roads. And this is a perfect example of District 1 being left behind, because there was this median put in that councils didn't get to review, and it was, you know, supposed to bring more safety. Does it look nice? Yeah, but we're hearing from the public all these different issues. So I am 100% in favor of looking at costs, concepts for a median break, traffic signal, and a crosswalk at Vista Way and Franklin Lane. I think it's been needed for a very long time. And I want that fire truck to get to my district as soon as possible. I'll be honest with you, if I could put a roundabout here, I would. Not everybody likes them, I get it. But I think it's definitely, you know, our council needs to be looking at public safety in this type of holistic way, because we can't just wait for something bad to happen to react. It's not the right way to govern. We really need to be preventative. And that goes for a lot of different things, right? Focusing on prevention actually is a higher return on investment of your taxpayer dollars. You know, this isn't just our money. And, you know, we're not a city that's so poor that we, you know, if we put a signal here, we're not going to be able to do anything else. That's not the situation. So we can't be in a system that just stalls progress. We need to keep moving forward and connecting our community. I want folks on Franklin Lane to be able to easily cross, go to the 99-cent store, you know, go walk the Conservancy Trail. And also, because I walk this area a lot, we need more trees. The last time, you know, that I walked to help Flyer, I walked there and it was hot with no shade, right? So what helps slow down traffic? It's also trees. So I think we can do all of these things. I'm in favor of looking at artistic crosswalks. I'm in favor of looking at trees. And I'm in favor of bringing you public safety. And I'm not going to tell you that $650,000 is just going to break the bank here, because it's not. In fact, you know, in future discussions, we're actually going to talk about how much money we have. And I think you're going to be shocked. So we need to do the right thing. And I'm not willing to wait until something bad happens here, because I'm tired of that type of governance. It's why people don't believe in government, because even when the solution is right in front of you, you want to have 6 years of studying before you implement the projects that are necessary. And our infrastructure is critical to safety. So I'll go ahead and make a motion that we direct staff to take a look at the idea of artistic crosswalks for this location and look at costs, concepts for a median break, traffic signal, and crosswalk. And yeah, I think that kind of encompasses everything. So thank you again, Councilmember Green, for bringing this forward and doing so much work and putting together a presentation. I want to be able for folks to have safe community and connection. And that's what, actually, I think that's been the theme of this entire council meeting today. And it's because you have a majority that works for you. And we're not going to hoard your money. We're going to put it to work. And the sooner we can pay for it, that means inflation doesn't eat at our money, right? It's eating at your money right now. It's eating at our money, our collective money right now. So let's go ahead and move forward and do this. So I put the motion on the floor. Thank you so much.
Councilmember O'Donnell.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilmember Green, for bringing this forward. Excellent presentation. I appreciate all the work that you put into this. As far as creative crosswalks, I actually am very partial to the orange, green, and blue one right up there. So I would love to see that over there. I actually fully agree with this proposal. I'm not going to second it. I'm letting you go ahead and do that. But I have made U-turns so many times right there at Townsite trying to get back to this building. Otherwise, you have to go all the way back around and cut through everything. And we're leading to the cut-through traffic that everybody's here trying to prevent. And it really is. It becomes very dangerous. So I'm definitely for it. I just want to make reference. And so in my time on this council, we have discussed a lot of different traffic mitigation, different traffic safety issues. I've been paying attention to this council for a long time before I was elected. And in every instance that we've talked about it, well, don't quote me on every, but I've never seen this list that was brought forward at the last meeting ever referenced when we're talking about traffic safety and talking about streetlights. And so now I see that it's 5 years old, right? That list is from 2018, am I correct?
The current list is 2023 from earlier this year.
Well, so all of those on there was from 2023?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
This is all collected new data. This
and so looking at that list, there was one that was specific to Shadow Ridge Drive, and it's like 1,000, not even, it's like 500 feet from a stop sign. And so I question the validity of that list and the metrics in which we use to get it. Not that, again, you guys do an amazing job. I know that these are all different standards that we go through. I would just like to know what metrics and different things that go into that so we can try and find out different ways, involve the public, and find out what the real needs are for our community to keep it safe. And I think that's what Councilmember Green is trying to do by involving the public, talking to the business owners. I think that anybody who's driven that stretch of road before knows exactly what you're talking about, what the individuals that have come forward tonight to talk about. And so I am very supportive of it, and I would like to see more of these studies done. But to the mayor's point, I do agree that we do need to have a comprehensive study of traffic lights and the need-based for them and where they're going to be implemented and safety measures. And I just think that we need to follow metrics that may be more in line with what the community is looking for and just have a better, deeper dive into it. So appreciate all the work that you both do and all the work that Councilmember Green did, and I'm happy to support it, but I will save the second for you, Joe.
I just want to say, you know, setting the priority is something that this council should be doing. And we had a conversation, I think maybe Councilman Green was a member of the council when we last reviewed this list. Sam brought it to the council and we reviewed it. We haven't done that. So I'm going to ask city manager right now to put that on a future agenda. And let's look at the whole list. Let's look at every intersection in the city. And I agree with you. Some of the intersections on that list, they meet the warrants. I think the reason that they're on that list is because they meet the warrants and because of proximity to schools, pedestrian activity, accidents at that intersection, and average daily traffic count. Now, some of these intersections that we're considering signalizing, we don't even have those data, and we can collect them very easily. And so I appreciate that Councilmember Green brought a request to obtain that information. And so because we're going to have a conversation about the priority ranking, that this council can absolutely decide 1,000 feet from the next intersection doesn't make sense. We don't think we need it, but we can discuss, and as a body, we can set priorities. So I'm going to support this because this request is to study this intersection, bring a plan back, and then we're going to have a separate item at my request, and it sounds like maybe there's a little bit of support for the concept where we look at it. Because the reality is, every time we say yes to one spending priority, we're saying no to others. That's how this works, okay? We don't have an infinite, and we do have some money, but we don't have an infinite amount of money to spend. And at some point, it runs out. And so, you know, like I say, if we were to do every intersection on that list, which obviously we're not going to, that would be pretty much every dime that we have that, you know, I've seen the same numbers you have about balances we have available to spend right now, but that would consume every single penny of that. I don't think we want to do that. I certainly wouldn't suggest that or wouldn't support that. But anyway, for a second, Councilman Joe Green.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor, and thank you so much, Council, for supporting this item. I love the idea of a CIPS. See how I just made out that acronym right there? Comprehensive Intersection Prioritization Study. Dang, Councilmember Melendez, that was a lot of words. So I love the idea of a CIPS. I think it's super good. When it comes to this particular intersection, I do want to say that putting the median in this kind of disqualifies it from the pedestrian count because nobody can walk through the intersection right now. So there's no way this would have ever been on the prioritization. So there is no petition process for a traffic signal, traffic, median break, and crosswalk. Exactly what all the residents did and the businesses did is what needed to happen. You had to engage the council. We literally had to walk that neighborhood up that hill in the sunshine on the hottest day ever in October to get the input. But that's how you have to do things at this case. So I definitely want to make sure we can afford it. I actually think if we bought 18 stoplights, we could afford it. Secret, we'll show you next week. But we're not buying that many stoplights. You know, we're basically saying this is what we need for the community. And the community came out, and I'd love to say I thought of this myself, but I didn't. I don't sit there and watch it every single day like the gentleman who's not moving off of Franklin Lane, whether we put it in or not. But I know you'll appreciate hanging a left out of there once it's done, my man. So I definitely appreciate you, Council, and I happily, ecstatically, jumping up and down in my chair and in my head, second that motion.
Councilmember Melendez.
Awesome. Thank you. I'm so glad that we're going to move forward with this in a positive way. And it sounds like overall, we all agree to look at the intersections that have conflict and to develop plans for those intersections, whether it's a plan for how to finance a signal, a plan for how to go after grants for a roundabout, plans for how we're going to mitigate conflict without some sort of signal or roundabout or many other interventions, right? Because all we have right now is a list that I have not seen in a public meeting, a designated time to go over it. And I think that if it does come before us, I would want to make sure that we are looking at it in a comprehensive way, you know, street by street. Prioritization is a very, you know, it's linear, right? It's, you know, a ranking of yes to no. But I think that there's a lot of spaces in our community in terms of infrastructure development where we can get to a yes because of a creative solution that we apply to the situation. So I'm supportive of that, and I think that we'll just have a great conversation about it, and you know, some good outcomes will come about it. I do want to make one point of information. Sam, could you clarify this? When you and I had a briefing last week, we talked about the prioritization list, and now I have seen it, right? And I understand how it came together and, you know, what the metrics are that we use, federal standards, all of that stuff. But from our conversation, what I gathered is that pedestrian metrics are not met on any of the intersections on our prioritization list.
That's correct. So in the federal standards that we follow, that are followed nationwide, there are 9 warrants that we evaluate against, and each one of those warrants is evaluated individually. And any one of those warrants that is met puts the intersection on the qualification list. Basically, it sends it to be qualified for a traffic signal. The pedestrian volume warrant is very stringent. The absolute minimum number of pedestrians that need to be met or that need to be present crossing at an intersection is 75 per hour for 4 hours out of a 24-hour period. So there are only really very few intersections that would meet that already even have traffic signals, maybe near, like at a school or something. But out of the 18 intersections on the list, none of them meet based on the pedestrian warrant. They all meet based on the motor vehicle volume warrants. There are several of those that are kind of configured in different ways.
Right, so they do meet other metrics and they're able to get on the list because all they have to do is meet one of the metrics.
Only one, correct.
But we talk a lot about pedestrian safety and walkability and active transportation, and this is kind of a little bit of a flaw in our system where the threshold is so high for our federal evaluation to meet criteria that it's not even necessarily considered as being important for that prioritization list. Now, if we were to conceptualize a whole new way of prioritizing intersections, I'm sure that our staff would say, and I've heard this from Sam, that they've thought of this, right? They see they are dictated by what the prioritizations are of the council. And if the council says, this is the list that we're going to go by, this is the list that they're going to go by. But having some good working sessions with our city staff, it's clear that there's other concepts and ideas that are available and tangible from an engineering perspective that we could employ at a lot of these intersections. So, we have had kind of progress on this conversation, but I did want to point out the fact that, pedestrian criteria aren't seriously met in most cases, but we do know that as a council, we have a vision for neighborhoods where it's more comfortable for people to walk. So, maybe we can incorporate that in our criteria in the future.
Deputy Mayor Contreras.
I have just a question. So there are 18 intersections on this list. And how many of those intersections have we addressed just by looking at, what the public is telling us that we need to look at?
We try to think there's at least a couple of them that are going to have roundabouts. Like there's a couple of them on Emerald Drive that are going to be part of the Complete Streets project. Those are the two that kind of pop in my mind right now, but there might be one more. But there are always the other solutions. So they're like, these warrants are strictly for traffic signals, and that's why they're stringent, because traffic signals are costly and they're disruptive to traffic, and they may not be the most favored, solution. So that's those criteria are just purely for that. Beyond that, it really becomes kind of what a community wants if it's something else other than a traffic signal. So that is a starting point, I would say, is the traffic signal priority list to maybe look at other options.
And on any given year, what's the average amount of signals that we address on the traffic prioritization?
I would say it varies. It's been less in the last few years because our focus has been active transportation and complete streets. Like, for example, Bobier Caillou Jules, we did bring to council at some point, a couple of years ago. Then we obviously decided to go the roundabout. And Emerald at Lewis, as a matter of fact, was brought to council in June 2021 on the signal priority list to approve a traffic signal, which was approved. But then we went with the kind of the complete streets concept for this Emerald as a whole, which kind of negated the need for a traffic signal. So it's been less lately just because we've been addressing the intersections in other ways.
Okay, yeah. I think it's great that we're looking at different ways to address public safety, right? And the public right-of-way, which our streets are a lot of public space that right now is not really conducive to safety. And so it seems like, this council, even before we saw this list, just by bringing forward the concerns that we're hearing from the residents, there's already, 4 or so of these intersections that we've been able to address. So I'm just really thankful for the council and the work that they're doing. Now, it seems like there also might be an opportunity for advocacy. We have a legislative platform, right? Do we see any kind of, I'm trying to think about it right now, but I don't think I've seen this on our platform, when we're looking at just telling our, congressmen, hey, you know what, these pedestrian warrants are extremely high, and maybe we need to reevaluate that. Is that on our platform at all? I don't know who would be best to answer that question.
Platform's more general than that, so it doesn't get that specific.
Okay. I think I'm just going to throw that as an idea. If we do want to get specific on certain things, there is a place where this council can advocate for changing some of the legislation, right? Well, thank you so much. It's been a great discussion. That's all from me.
Mr. Conley.
I just want to clarify a couple things. One, we will bring the traffic signal priority list to council for discussion before the capital improvement program comes forward. We typically do that in the springtime. There are a number of locations on that list that have been addressed as a result of either council action to put in different traffic safety modes or situations where there may be too close to other signalized intersections where it might take a different look. They're prioritized simply based on criteria, so it doesn't take into the account the comments like we've heard tonight, so we'll revisit that. The second thing I wanted to mention is this particular intersection we did not evaluate because the median went in. So we evaluate the open intersections and look at accident history. Once the median went in, it was intended to address that left out, and so we never did, but we certainly understand your direction tonight. Thanks.
And just a historical point, as we cast our votes, because we have a motion to second, so we'll go ahead and vote. But while we're voting, just a historical point. You want to go ahead and, yeah, go ahead. Sorry. That was a considerable amount of resident outreach to the council that caused us to pursue that plan. I think Joe was on the council. We have a lot of people that wanted to see traffic flow better on Vista Way. And so the council and staff pursued that median and a grant from the state of California so that we could make that work better. And Mr. Hassan, his proposal to do that, we pursued some grant funding. We had to maintain that median for a certain amount of time, or we had to repay that grant money. Are we out of that window?
I'm not sure exactly what the window is off the top of my head, but I think a small change like that would not probably impact
No, I don't think it would
original
either.
grant.
I'm not concerned about it, but I just wanted to give the council the historical reality that it wasn't just willy-nilly that we did that. That was really citizen driven, and there are a lot of people that really wanted to see that work better. Okay, that'll bring us to our final oral communications opportunity. I don't have any speaker cards from those folks in front of us, but anybody on Zoom that wanted to raise their hand or press *9, we'll have one more opportunity right now. Do we have anybody else? Okay, seeing none, we'll close the opportunity for public comments. And does our Deputy City Clerk have any comments tonight? City Clerk? City Attorney, Mr. Conley.
I have two things, Mayor. This past Saturday morning, the Vista Fire Department and the American Red Cross teamed up for a smoke alarm installation event at the Vista Manor Mobile Home Park. Thank you to the dozens of volunteers, including Councilmember Melendez, who was there. 257 smoke alarms were installed at no charge in 102 homes, serving 363 residents. Special thanks to Vista Fire Department Prevention Bureau team members Zach Basin and Dominic Ramos for coordinating the event with the American Red Cross. The upcoming time change when we set our clocks back on November 5th is a good reminder to check the batteries in your smoke detectors. City staff are coordinating a community engagement event for the Avenida de Benito Juarez Pocket Park and the Luz Duran Park improvements for Friday, September 20th at 6 p.m. at the Linda Rhodes Community Center Gym. We're inviting the public to come see and comment on preliminary design ideas for these 2 new parks, or a change to one and a new park. And we're also conducting a survey in English and Spanish. For more information, visit the city's website calendar at cityofvista.com. Thank you.
Councilmember O'Donnell?
Yes, so I apologize because I do have quite a few updates, but I will make them as quick as I can. It's always at the end for me. I'm the shortest one during the meeting, but just so a League of City update really quick. I want to thank Arcela Nunez from Universidad Popular for speaking today. She just I want to thank her for all the work that she does, as well as the entire group over there. But just talking about the outreach and the education, the infrastructure, and the civic engagement in historically underserved communities. And one of the things that I took out of it the big ask is that the cities, not just here in North County, but all over that can really work towards these issues, kind of work together and build a larger coalition so it's easier to go into these areas, but also recognize that these areas exist. So just want to thank her, and that was part of the presentation. Also, it's been 680 days of closed beaches due to the Tijuana River right there in the watershed. There's a failing treatment plant, and I just wanted to join the 18 other mayors that surround that area, and I don't know if the council would like to join me as well. But just personally, I want to join them in asking that there is a state of emergency declared so that federal and state funding can be absorbed into that to try and fix those issues, because I think it is definitely needed. On a brighter note, the Vista City Block Party celebrating our 60th birthday is this Saturday, so make sure that everybody shows up. Would love to see everybody there. We're going to have a great time. I am still going to be hosting a town hall. We're working on a date. It will most likely be sometime in November. As always, I want to thank my wonderful wife, Allie, for allowing me to be away from the home and working with all these great people up here. And with that being said, I hope you all have a good night.
Councilmember Melendez.
Thank you. Just a few updates from me. I wanted to highlight a community concern that I learned about recently through discussions with neighbors and on social media, where a private property, an apartment complex, was conducting a pest control herbicide treatment. And later, a person was walking their dog who lived on the property, and their dog ingested some of the product that was remaining. And after a very traumatic experience of the dog essentially, its organs failing, the dog passed away. And this was incredibly alarming because, as you know, a couple of months ago, I, as your council member, brought forward a discussion to eliminate the use of glyphosate and dithifer, which are 2 extremely intense and toxic synthetic herbicides, from use in city-owned parks and within a quarter mile of schools. And that's our public duty, right? To keep the public safe by removing toxic poisons from our community. But there are still gaps in our policy as it relates to private property. And I really needed to make a public comment about that tonight and to express my deep sadness and my condolences to this person who lost their animal because of the ingestion of a poison. This also could have been a child or some other person who is vulnerable to poisoning. So I would like to connect with our city staff and our city attorney to discuss going forward how we will support our community in advocating for themselves if they're on private properties that do use these pesticides and herbicides, and also to discover if there are any policies that we can implement to keep people safe. Even education that we can provide this. I cried and it broke my heart. So hopefully we can have a supportive discussion about this topic in the future. I also want to share some other updates. I'm really looking forward to our block party on the 14th. It's going to be really fun. There's a lot of stuff happening that day. There's a lot of community events, but I hope everyone can at least make it to the block party and we can have some fun and celebrate as a community. The other thing that I wanted to share was that as you know, for the San Diego Association of Governments, there is going to be a vacancy in our CEO. Our CEO is leaving us, and with that vacancy, it's the responsibility of the board to hire a new CEO. And that usually starts with a subcommittee being formed to go through the initial phases of the hiring process, even develop some of the initial screenings of that CEO. I was asked by Chairwoman Nora Vargas to serve on the subcommittee for hiring a new CEO, and I'm very honored to do that. For me, it shows that Vista is going to have representation on a very important decision that the SANDAG board gets to make. So when it comes to executive leadership, feel free to let me know what your thoughts are. What are some of the highest priorities that we have when it comes to executive leadership? Because as a subcommittee member for hiring the new CEO, I'm going to be really critical, and I'm going to be really thoughtful about the process and make sure that we get the best possible person for this job, because it is a publicly funded organization. And was there anything else? I think that's it. Great discussion, everyone. Hope you have a great night.
Deputy Mayor Contreras.
So as your representative on North County Transit District, I have a ton of meetings lined up because we also are in a search for a new executive director after Matt Tucker retired from the his public sector role after 15 years. So we're also, in the process of looking for an executive director at North County Transit District. So when there are updates, I'll let you know. Right now, we're just doing a bunch of meetings and putting together, what we want to see for our next executive director. I'm really looking forward to the October 20th workshop, town hall style, to look at park improvements that the community, wants to discuss at Luz Duran Park, and also our new park not too far away, closer to VAPA and the Boys and Girls Club off of Avenida Benito Juarez. So look forward to that. And I did bet the city manager, although we didn't bet anything, just words, that we would be done around 7:45, and so I'm not too far off, although he didn't give me a counter, so yeah. So anyways, thank you, council, for a really great discussion, and thank you again to the public. We really have seen our neighbors coming together and saying, hey, this is what we want the city to look at for public safety on our streets. And I think it's an amazing thing to witness. So thank you again to everybody who has Zoomed in and written emails and come and spoken before the body. I look forward to seeing more and more of that happen. Thank you.
Councilmember Green.
All right, I'm going to be the longest one, but I will speak super fast and have so much information, it's ridiculous. I am your representative on the RISWA board, which is the Regional Solid Waste Association. I have a quick slideshow that at our CAT presentation, I let everybody know I would be presenting here at this meeting. Just want to make sure you know that it is public record, so if you find you're not getting the information out of this fast presentation, you can go ahead, print it out, put it on your head, learn by osmosis. We're going to go ahead and go to the next page. SB 1383 was something that came out in 2016, which we are forced to be in compliance with. And as of January 1st, 2023, enforcement will be starting. Today, I'm going to highlight what progress has been in our city. RISWA represents 9 cities throughout North County here. We're also going to discuss where CALS Recycle's next round of funding is. I have an Angela, who is a grant writer, who's going to be getting me some of that money. And we have work that's going to be required in 2024 in order to be in compliance with SB 1383. SB 1383 is the requirement to divert or recycle 75% of our organic waste by 2024. This was put into process in 2016. 8 years later, here we go. Next slide. So we did a study by what is a tier 1 and a tier 2 producer. These producers are the ones who produce the most organic waste, which is lost, whether to non-recycling or non-food reuse. And Solana Center is currently under contract with RISWA. That contract is transferring to every city municipality so they can make sure that they are in compliance as a city municipality as opposed to just a JPA. Now, Vista, we have a contract extension in place. You can see the other cities on this list who are either in a contract or have no contract in place. Next page here. So progress in RISWA cities. Look all the way to the right, Vista. We have 50 businesses that are going to be regulated by SB 1383. We've already completed 64% of inspections on those 50 businesses. They haven't required any current technical assistance yet. However, that technical assistance is available. Holla at your city, will help you. We also have 10 related food recovery organizations within the city of Vista. That is very important because at the hierarchy of food waste is food recovery. About 30% of people around the world are suffering from hunger and food insecurity, and we throw away about 33% of all food that we make in the world. So if we could just balance out that food recovery with food waste, nobody gonna go hungry. Next page, overall progress. So we're continuing our first round of inspections in Vista right now. Don't worry about National City. They're just part of our thing there. We haven't been able to get into all businesses. As you saw, we've only inspected 64% of them. We're required to inspect all of them and relay that information to CalRecycle. Enforcement, super important. Through 2023, inspections and education to improve business compliance is all that's happening. However, January 1st, 2024 must be implemented by cities. Our tier 1 producers have already been notified, and they know that by January 1st, we're going to be rolling by and making sure that you are either recycling your organic waste, whether it's going back to the anaerobic digester and being used to create renewable natural gas, or if it's going to one of these food rescue organizations that's going to be feeding our community. The initial annual food recovery capacity, look all the way down at the end. The city of Vista has the capacity to recover 641,000 pounds of food, all right? So since 2016, we've been getting this data. We've been losing 641,000 pounds of food. So this is what SB 1383 is doing, is making sure that Vista is in compliance and that food is no longer wasted and it's provided to the most underserved members of our community. Next slide here. We talk about tier 1, 2-tier businesses. Tier 1s, grocery stores, wholesalers, food service providers. There's a few things that you'll see on there as far as some grocery stores have donation programs. The smaller stores need assistance. The record keeping and maximum donation are the focuses of inspections. So when CalRecycle comes through, they want to see their records. Who are you donating to? How much are you donating to? And how much do you actually have that you should be donating that you're not donating, all right? We'll keep this slide. Tier 1 businesses. Next one, tier 2 businesses. Tier 2 businesses, restaurants, schools, hospitals, and events. I'm happy to report that we have a great relationship with Vista Unified School District here. Unfortunately, we don't have the same trash hauler as Vista Unified School District, but they are working with us on the food recovery programs. If you go to any elementary school or middle school, they actually have a share table now. And if you didn't like the food that was on your plate, you can put your leftover fruit and your leftover juice boxes on tables, and kids who maybe may not have had lunch can actually go up and get food from the share table. That's just one way. They also have a weekend program where they send food home with kids. It's amazing. Great job, schools. Last one right here. Next CalCycle funding round. This is my favorite slide because we get free money. The grants that are given by CalRecycle are based off your population. The city of Vista is slated to get $182,000 as long as we apply before November of 2023. These funds are basically guaranteed. We received these funds from CalRecycle last time we applied for them, so I anticipate the funds that we apply for will be received and will be able to be allocated towards SB 1383 compliance. The next page here is just what the next steps are going to be in order to come into compliance. We got a plan for capacity. We have edible food recovery, lots of education and outreach. I think Councilmember O'Donnell said it best. He remembered having those plastic crates where you had a newspaper and a plastic and a can and a paper, whatever, to this aspect of our community. Infrastructure is super important. As a council person, I concentrate on public safety, business development, infrastructure. So that's it for my SB 1383 update. Thank you for humoring me with that extra time. I also want to hype the Vista Block Party, 12 o'clock to 8 o'clock, Saturday, pew, 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 in downtown. Also want to hype the Boys and Girls Club of Vista annual poker tournament, which I believe I got 5th place in last year. I plan to get the championship this year and pick whatever prize I want. 5 o'clock at the Vistonian. And last but certainly not, and it's 5 until I win, just so you know how late you got to stay out. Last but certainly not least, Josh Sino Cruz. Good-looking man in the back, gray suit. He actually has served on RISWA with me in one of his capacities as a management analyst since 2016. So he's had to see me sit there and battle on SB 1383. And Josh was actually just promoted to assistant city manager. So congratulations, our assistant to the assistant city manager. My bad. So many assistants, okay? But what I want to make sure you know, Josh, you have huge shoes to fill right in front of you right there, okay? Anyway, congratulations, sir. Round of applause, Josh Sino Cruz. Longest oral comments ever by me. I apologize, but thank you. Hopefully somebody got something out of my SB 1383 update. I love Jennifer Green forever and tacos.
Councilmember Melendez, did you have something else?
I just had a quick question for Joe, if I could ask. So education now, enforcement 2024, but it's safe to say that a lot of our businesses are already donating their surplus food, yes?
Yes, ma'am. A lot of them are already donating. They already have programs in place, and we anticipate there's not really going to be any compliance issues in the city of Vista because we've been on top of it for such a long time.
We got it. And then my other question was for city manager, and how are we doing with the grant application with it being due in November?
We will have it in for sure.
Awesome. Love to hear it. Thank you.
Okay, we want to thank the 26 volunteers of the city and city staff who participated and cleaned up about 800 pounds of trash, recycling, and green waste at the Buena Vista Creek Trail and the Michigan Avenue street sweep. Thank you very much for helping to improve and make our city safer and cleaner. We have 2 special events coming up this month. Saturday, October 14th, head down to Vista for the Vista Block Party. Wish I could make that great noise that Joe made. That was very entertaining. Where we will celebrate the city's 60th anniversary of incorporation. We will have live music, local restaurants, breweries, entertainment for the kids, vendor booths, and much more. On Friday the 27th, the city of Vista partners with Discover Vista for a Fright Night on Main Street. Come out for trick-or-treating, a haunted house, creepy hay rides, costume contests, and more. The city will be out with vehicles and equipment from the fire and public works departments, along with the Vista station for the sheriff's department. For more information on these events, please check out the city's website calendar at cityofvista.com. We are adjourned.